Welcome to The Table, a podcast where we share real stories, struggles, and victories as we walk together in faith. Welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with my good friends, Kayla, Cain, and Amy Johnston. Today they are talking about a particularly hard season, and that's probably an understatement, of how an unexpected illness brought people to the Lord and allowed them to see a real life miracle. There's a lot here. We talk about prayer and relationships, family, community, all the things. So I hope that there is something in this conversation that encourages you wherever you are today. So let's get into it. Grab a seat and come to the table with my guests, Kayla, Cain, and Amy Johnston.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going. It's been a
Okay.
week. Yeah, but it's going.
I agree. The last time
Yes.
that we sat down to have the first part of this conversation, it had been a week and we had been together all week at VBS. This has been a different kind of week, but I'm still just tired after living through the last 4 days. So it's been a week. I want to kind of just jump in, which feels not very natural to what I normally do here, but this is the first time we've done a 2-part episode, and we're just gonna jump in and dive in if that's okay. Is that okay with y'all? Okay. Okay. So I don't think that this is in the first week's episode, but if it is, oh well, people are just gonna hear it again. I thought about you, Kayla. Honestly, you were on my heart for several months before this, and this is how it has happened before. Like, someone comes to mind, and I just kind of like let it simmer there. And if they keep coming back to my mind, then I'm like, okay, and I start to put some thought into it and how I could have a conversation with that person. But in this series, for whatever reason, I just did not feel like it was the right time to ask you to come and join me. And then we were sitting in class together, and it like hit me like a ton of bricks that I needed to have you both here together to tell this story. And I knew what I wanted you to talk about, which I try really hard not to tell people what it is that I want them to talk about. But I knew what I wanted to hear you talk about, because the thing that I've learned most from you in over the last several years is the value of prayer and how important it is and how powerful it is. There is a book, I know last week we shared The Alter Ego, which is on my to be read list now, but you shared Dangerous Prayers, which is also a Craig Groeschel book that is truly dangerous, so do not read it unless you're ready to, unless you're really ready.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always give people a disclaimer with that one.
Yeah. But I think listening to you tell some of the story that you're going to tell today, I hope, I learned so much about how powerful prayer is. And I think I've been guilty of this. I would say we as a Christian culture are guilty of saying things like, well, all I can do is pray. Or I got to the end of myself and realized like I just was going to have to talk to the Lord about this and he was going to have to solve it. And that is such a backward thought.
Yes.
Like, prayer is so much more powerful than I think we give it credit sometimes. So I wanted to talk about that. I want you to hear your story. That's kind of like that's the background behind how this came to be. So let's just jump in. What season, share a little bit about a hard season with us, and let's get into it.
2020.
Oh, that was a hard season for everybody.
Yes.
What a hard season. Yeah.
Okay, let's start off in about January 2020. The song "Different" by Micah Tyler. I just kept hearing it over and over, and I remember, the dangerous prayer.
Yep.
Lord, please make me different. You said, what's the words it says? I want to be different. I want to be changed. Till all of me is gone. And only you remain. And only you remain in a fire so bright that the whole world can see that there's something different. And I remember praying that, like earnestly praying that Lord, I want to. And then we get in further into 2020. Yes.
I was not expecting this. This is just funny. Like this is how the Lord, this is our relationship, I guess. There's a situation. Actually, I feel like every aspect of my life is turning upside down right now, which is fine. I'm learning to accept that there's bread for today only. But I want to know. I have found myself praying that prayer. I think where I am is I don't necessarily care that I'm ready to not care anymore what anyone else thinks about the way that I'm going to choose to live my life and like just lean into what I know to be true and into that different space. And that is a dangerous prayer. What was it that song that brought you to the place where you wanted to pray that? Was it truly just hearing those words and saying, this is what I want for my life?
It really was, because it just spoke to me. You and I've talked about this. Music speaks to me.
Yeah.
And just spoke to me, and it really created a desire in my heart to want to be different and to be a light for him.
Yeah. I think that's so scary because I know what you're going to say next. But I also think that's like what a sweet place to get where, and I'm not there yet. I wish I could say that I was. But what a sweet place to say, like, I don't care. Like, just make me who you want me to be and mold me into what you want me to be. That is all that matters. And then you can, like, continue. Tell us more. Sorry, I had to ask.
No, you're fine.
So you had actually, we were in the middle of planning my wedding. Actually done planning. Like we had met with a florist, we had met and picked all the flowers. We had met with the venue and picked all the food and like picked out save the dates, picked out invitations.
Yeah.
Like all we were doing was waiting. I think we even had already sent out save the dates.
Yes. All we were waiting for was to
wait till closer time to get my dress fitted
and send out the invitations. And I mean, money had already been paid.
Yeah.
Taylor wanted to get me his birthday in 2020. And then mom had been in the hospital. We thought it was her normal asthma stuff, so we didn't think too much of it. I guess this was February. No, it was March. Early March. It was late March. No, the first time you went in. I went in on it. I woke up on a Saturday and I was feeling well. And I knew it didn't feel like my normal lung problems. So I called my doctors. I'd already been staying home at this point for 2 weeks. I had not left the house because all of my doctors were like, this is real.
Yeah. That COVID had already started. Yeah.
It started.
It was in it was around, yeah.
And so they were like, you do not need to leave the house. So I'd been staying home and I just woke up and didn't feel good. And so I went to the hospital. This was on a Saturday. And I stayed until Tuesday. And this is when it took like 5 to 7 days to get the COVID test.
Yeah.
So they had me in, they had just thrown me in the COVID unit. So there was half the stuff in the room didn't work. But they sent me home on a Tuesday because they said, we really think it's just your asthma. And you don't need to be here being exposed to this.
Yeah.
We'll let you know when we see the COVID result. Sent me home. I wake up Wednesday morning. I started feeling worse throughout the night. I wake up Wednesday morning and I had 8 missed calls from the hospital, from my doctor, from her nurse, from the Department of Health, just all these calls, and it was letting me know that I was positive. Well, by this time, I'd started running a fever, which I'd not done when I was in the hospital. And that whole day, Nathan was in touch with my pulmonologist on and off, and I just kept getting worse throughout the day. And it got to the point where I
I couldn't catch my breath, and the thermometer wouldn't even read my temperature. So Nathan called an ambulance, per my instructions from my pulmonologist. And
we get a call probably 6. I don't know, maybe later than that. It was in the evening saying that Nate called saying the ambulance is on its way. And basically to come say goodbye. Because with Mom's health history, we knew COVID for her would be a death sentence.
Yeah.
So Taylor and I flew over to Mom and Nate's house. They live less than 5 minutes away. We probably drove it in 1 minute that night. And we go in. She's in her bedroom. They've got she had a concentrator at the time. So she's on that, but her breathing was kind of like when people are about to die, and it's very
labored, very labored.
Well, not even just labored, but there's a lot of space in between breathing, and it's not deep breaths. So I mean, her body was actively shutting down. And she, when I say she asked me to sing, she couldn't. It wasn't talking like we're talking now.
Before she got there, all I could sing and all I could get out when I could take a breath was "God is so good." So I was singing that song. But by the time she got there, I was so tired, I couldn't hardly get the words out anymore. But I'd been singing that, waiting for the ambulance and waiting for everybody to get there, the whole family to come and say their goodbyes. And then she gets there.
Yeah, I crawl in the bed with her, and it was weird because I knew I was saying bye to my mom, but sorry, toddler's coming through. And it was terrifying, but there was, when she asked me to sing, literally only song I could think of was Amazing Grace. And it was not a moment that normally you would sing Amazing Grace. So I feel like song's saved for the joyous, spirit overflowing moments. But in that moment, that's what God gave us. And that's all we had when it came down to it. And so we just laid there and I just sang Amazing Grace until the ambulance got there. And the paramedics suited up in their hazmat suits, came in and got her. My grandparents were there. Brother Jeremy and Shannon were there. It was the end. It should have been the end.
Yeah.
And there was so much, for me, I was just at peace. I could see the fear on everyone's face. The paramedics, when the paramedic checked my oxygen, even though he had the hazmat suit on, I could see his face, the panic. And I was their first positive COVID patient that they had seen. So they didn't even know. They didn't know what all to do, really. But I wasn't scared. There was just peace. And Amazing Grace was the perfect song for me to hear, because what God was doing for me, He was holding me. He had me, and I could feel Him.
And so off she went to the hospital, and we could not go.
Yeah,
This
I was about to say, by herself, yeah.
Yeah, this was the first time any family member had gone to the hospital and been alone.
Yeah.
Because my family is we just do things together, and when you're in the hospital, you don't do the hospital alone. And so I stayed up and I called probably every hour, checking on her.
and it was probably around 1, 2 o'clock. She finally got in a room. And then a little bit later, I just was still calling, checking how she's doing, how her stats were doing. I asked the nurse, like, do my husband and I, do we just need to get married, like, on FaceTime with my mom? Because, like, my mom has to see me get married. Like, but she just has to be there. I can't get married without my mom. And so, the nurse, it was way more professional, but basically said, you just need to wait for her to, like, watch from heaven. And so that just further confirming, like, even with the medical field, this was a death sentence for her.
Yeah. And so,
that first night was awful. She's in the hospital. She's in a room. She's not just in, like, the ER.
Yeah.
Or wherever.
we don't know. And so,
So I don't remember if it was that night or the next day that I did my first post, because I just was racking my brain about, like, what can I do? I can't be there with her. And so all I could do was get as many people to pray as possible. And that's where it started. I posted on Facebook saying Mom was positive. She was in the hospital. It's a hopeless situation.
Yeah.
and
Only a miracle would save her at this point. And so it began. I mean, it spread like wildfire. I've never been a part of a situation where so many people just showed up in the most important way. Because for me, and God really solidified this in this season, prayer is, in my opinion, the most intimate part of your relationship with Him. Don't get me wrong, I'm not, reading your Bible is so important. Worshiping is so important, but praying and talking to Him and taking your request boldly to the throne of grace, that's what He wants. He wants your vulnerability. And now, no, not everything we pray gets answered how we want it.
Yeah.
and that's where your faith really comes in to, like,
Sometimes your will is not His will.
Mm-hmm.
And
had that happened before in our family where,
His will wasn't our will, and it was rocking. And it really tested our faith. And so I knew praying a dangerous prayer, it could not be answered.
Yeah.
she could not make it. Like, that's still,
We could do all of this, and she could still not make it.
Can I ask you a question about prayer? And then we'll get back in the story.
you're good.
What, like, I think when I agree with you, Aval. I think that prayer is one of the most intimate ways that we connect with God, and that the Holy Spirit, like that, I think that you have to have that to have the relationship, just like you do with people. But when some people hear you say that, like that it's the most intimate part of a relationship, I think some people would be like, well, my prayer is, Lord, help me get this job, or Lord, that I really need a house, or Lord, like, keep my baby safe. And that doesn't feel intimate. So will you just talk a little bit about what that means, or how
Yeah.
you've experienced that?
Absolutely. So
Let me pull the verse real quick.
I have it saved. Actually, no, it's our kitchen Bible. Says
1 Peter 5:7 is,
cast all your worries and cares on God,
for He cares for you. And that's not just the big ones. I mean,
Yeah.
praying for God,
your children, that's important. I think
when your prayers are intimate, it's when you're being vulnerable. when you're bearing your heart. Yes, God knows us. Like, you have Psalm 31, search me, oh God. Like, my inner beings. Yes, he knows all the things. He knows it. But there's not an intimacy and vulnerability until you tell him in prayer,
Mm-hmm.
God, I'm terrified. My mom's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Please stay. But before we get back to it, I do want to say not all of my prayers are super intense and just like miracle asking.
Right.
My family obviously knows I'm huge on prayer. I pray about if it's a worry or a care, I'm going to pray about it. And so we were going to Florida one time, and my family makes fun of me for this. And I had ordered some shoes with outfits for the beach because, like, when you're a mom, you don't always really get to dress up. And when you do, half the time, your kids spill stuff on you.
Yeah.
And so I was so excited. Taylor and I were going to go on a date with no kids. And I just wanted to look nice and have something to see. My shoes were supposed to be delivered the day before we were supposed to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one time Amazon gets delayed,
Oh,
they got delayed. So then they were supposed to be delivered the day we were leaving. And so I pray the Lord, please let these shoes get here before we leave. And so my parents come, picked us up. We loaded up, still no shoes. We get to go pick up my grandparents, pick them up, get everything loaded. And Nate was like, well, we can just go by your house and just see if they've been delivered. I was like, okay, let's do it. It's looking gloom. And we turn on the street, and the Amazon guy is like one house down and delivered the shoes as we were leaving the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I got the shoes on the trip. And so I don't want to sound like my prayers are always super intense and groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Sometimes if it's a silly thing, I still pray about it to God. And so if I can trust him with little things, or if I can talk to him about little things, like even if it doesn't get answered, I still talk to him about it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be more likely to go to him with the big things quicker.
Right. An example that one of the members at our church gave me. This has been years ago, and I never thought about it like this. We always think about him, about our Savior on the throne, and he's just up there, and we're trying to pray to him, and it's hard when you think about him that way to have an intimate relationship and take those small things, what you think is small, to him. To him, it's not small. It's still something that matters to you. So take it to him. And she said, the way I think about it, and this person was struggling with their salvation at the time. And she said, the way that I think about it and the way I look at it is I don't see him up on a throne. I see him as my father, as my dad. And I can crawl up in his lap.
Yeah.
Just like I would my earthly father and tell him exactly how I feel. He already knows. And that made such a huge difference in my prayer life. I was more open. He already knows, but I was able to speak those things that to him and ask, Lord, help me with this. Help me with my patience today with my child, who at the time was a teenager, and so all those things. And it made such a huge difference in my prayer life to think about him in that aspect instead of not taking away anything that he deserves, but instead of just thinking of him as sitting on the throne and this King of Kings and Lord of Lords, he still knows my heart's desire. He still knows everything on me. He knows the number of hairs on my head. So I can go to him with those things, and that's what he wants.
Yeah, I agree. I love that you shared that. I might have heard that from you recently, but I've heard that from somebody recently, and it is just so good. And to your point, like two things can be true. Like he is the King of Kings and he is on the throne, but he also cares deeply about us enough that we can do exactly what you just described. And we had a silly thing happen this week, actually. Livy had left a toy outside that wasn't hers, it was Millie's. And then they left and didn't come back and they didn't put it up. And they were like, she was so afraid that she was going to, it's like a pool thing, that it was going to blow away and it wasn't hers. And she was so sad that she had like not been responsible with Millie's toy. And so I was like, well, we're just going to pray about it. And if it's there when we get home, then great. And if not, then like we learned a really good lesson and, move on. And so we pulled in the drive. When I got home, it wasn't there. I didn't see it. I left the next day, wasn't there, didn't see it. But when I got home again, all of those toys were in the yard as we pulled in the driveway. And like, that's really silly. And I don't necessarily think to do this for myself, but every time, just like your shoes, Kayla, every time I have taken something to the Lord that's little and He answers that prayer, it increases my faith. And I think I need that increase of faith when I take those big things to Him too. In those seasons like what you're talking about, it's all those little times that He's answered prayer or cared about the things in my life help me in those bigger moments. That's what I was thinking about your shoes. So yeah, I love that you shared that. I could talk about prayer forever.
I'm a huge prayer, my jam. Don't get me started.
Yeah. Well, I want to be better about being more prayerful. I think a lot of people talk about that. We have lots of prayer podcasts that we've done, and it's just over time, I think little bits stick and little habits change, and like the relationship grows more and more. So, okay. I derailed us. I'm sorry when I asked about prayer, but okay. So Amy, you are in the hospital. As of right now, no one has been with you. You've just been by yourself. And I think we're maybe a day or so in. Kayla, when you send that first post, like what happened next?
So we had so many people share it and comment and just react to it. And I started doing about 2 updates a day. I would do a morning update and an afternoon update. And just continue trying to get people to pray. And it didn't start out as the intent, like, wow, if God heals her, this is an incredible audience. That's viewing this. But God already knew that's what was going to happen. And so an innocent, desperate post turned into God showing people all over the world what He can do. And I mean, we had people praying in Africa. We had, I mean, it was just all over the place. London. It was just in London. It was just so overwhelming. Like, I had people adding me on Facebook that I had no clue who they were every day, just wanting to keep up with the story. And people texting and calling. And we had, well, I guess you had gone on the ventilator.
So prior to going on the ventilator, of course, I had still not seen anyone. And I just remember telling the nurse, I can't do this on my own anymore. And he said, okay, where's your husband right now? And I was like, he's at home. I mean, I had no idea. I was so confused at the time.
This was like 1 a.m., like in the middle of the night.
And I didn't know. And I'm like, just call him. He'll answer.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me that it was for security reasons to take my earrings, my rings, that kind of stuff. Get all of anything I had with me. And so they called Nathan and let him come down. And he got to see me for 10 minutes. And he was in full, looked like hazmat. And I'm thinking it's just for security reasons. And so I'm just like, hey, it's good to see you,
Yeah.
and he can't get close to me, that kind of thing. And later, they all knew this, but I did not. But later, after I'd come off the ventilator, and probably, I don't know, a while after that, I realized it was for us to say goodbye. Because 90% of the COVID patients at the time that went on ventilators did not come off.
Yeah.
So it was for him to say goodbye. He got to say 10 minutes and then he had to leave.
So it kind of felt like a Moses thing. Like Moses followed the call and went back to Egypt and went to Pharaoh to like let my people go. And then Pharaoh got way harder on the Israelites, and it got worse for the Israelites. And so I knew God wanted me to do these Facebook posts and get as many people to pray. But then she got worse, because this just furthered the death sentence that was looming. Just like another nail in the coffin. Felt like the final nail in the coffin. And so she went on the ventilator. Nate got to say bye to her. And then it felt desperate. So I had a college teacher, was an ethics teacher, but she made us learn prayers from the Bible. And she said, sometimes in life, you're not going to have the words to pray, but the Bible can give you the words. And so Mark 9, it's not necessarily a prayer, but it has turned into a prayer for my life, overwhelming. I think it's 6 through 14, Mark chapter 9. It's about the boy that is demon possessed, and it tries to throw him in the fire and tries to injure the boy and stuff. And the father asked Jesus, please, if you can, heal my son. And Jesus says, what do you mean if I can't? And the father says, I believe, Lord, help my unbelief. And that verse, that line, I encountered it in a very broken season, but it stayed with me and it's been so appropriate. And in that season, it was, I believe, Lord, help my disbelief. I know you can heal my mom. I know you're capable. But I just don't know if you can all the way. And so we actually met up at my parents' house, and some members from the church came. It was like Mark and Kelly, Garrett, Brother Jeremy and Shannon, Marty and Paula, the Norris family, just to pray. Now, we all were distanced, of course. We were all outside. We're all distanced. Taylor and I were there. I think my grandparents were there. Nate was there. My sister was there. And we prayed. And we sang Amazing Grace together. Which I think it's around the time Mom had your experience.
So, while I was sick, and I remember, I'm going to back up just a little bit. And in the ER, I had my phone with me. And so I just had
Take Me to the King.
the song Take Me to the King just on repeat. Because that's where I was. That's just where I was, just take me to the King. And I remember just thinking, if I could just touch the hem of his garment. And but the woman with the bleeding disorder, and just that was just on me. Just if I could just touch the hem of his garment. So fast forward, prior to what she was speaking of, this is on prayer. There were 2 different times that it was as if I was being held at the window of my hospital room, and I could see pictures of my family going by. I wasn't in any of them, but I could hear their laughter, each individual person's laugh as the pictures went by. I saw Kevin. But it was so comforting just having that. It was literally as if he was holding me, and then I would just lay back down in the bed and just there was just peace. And after COVID, I'm going to fast forward. After COVID, after I got out of the hospital, and I was talking to my mom one day and just telling her about that experience, she said, I woke up in the middle of the night one night, and all I could say was, Lord, please hold her. Tell me prayer doesn't work. He was holding me.
Mm-hmm.
A few days later, I was talking to one of my dear friends and telling her the story. And she said, Amy, no. She said, I woke up in the middle of the night one night, and all I could say was, Lord, please hold her. 2 different people who had not talked to each other, and they both, the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
woke them up. That was their prayer, was to hold me. And then while they're doing this, they're singing Amazing Grace and stuff. It was as if I was at his feet. All I could see was bright light. Words cannot describe it, but I've caught a glimpse of what we're going to see when we get to heaven. No, I did not get to see his face. I didn't have to at that point. I knew where I was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just rest. And that was, I believe, from everyone praying. He was giving me that experience to just, if it reaches one person, that entire experience was well worth it. It was more than worth it. But I got to lay at his feet for a moment. I have no idea how long it was, but for a moment I was there in his presence. And if you're not saved, you're not going to experience that.
Yeah.
And I just beg you to seek him, and you will find him. He's waiting for you to ask him for forgiveness and to save your soul.
You have to seek him with all your heart. It's the
Yeah.
vulnerability.
Yes.
Oh, a lot of what you just said made me think about obviously the prayer conversation, but there both of those stories or instances in the story have to do with other people. Like it wasn't just you by yourself. Um, Either one of you by yourself. Like Kayla, you had this. I mean, I remember your post and like checking every day to see how she was, and you know, you had people in your circle coming together to pray and support you, and just like your mom and your friend Amy, like they were praying those specific prayers for you. How has that experience, before we get to the end of the story, how has that changed your relationship with God? How has you getting to rest at his feet changed your relationship with him now?
Ooh. I'm feeling him right now in the season that I'm in right now. It's not that he wasn't real, but I can't explain how much more real
Real, yeah.
he is to me. And just wanting other people. I feel like sometimes I share that season of my life too much, but then I also feel as if I don't share it enough because, like I said, if it can reach one person, I will share it every day if he allows me. So that one person can experience eternity with him. Because just that glimpse, I can't imagine what being there all the time is going to be for eternity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that answered your question,
Yeah. No, I think
but
that's the perfect answer. And we actually, I think you guys were there. I don't know if you were. I'm gonna cut that out. On Wednesday night, we had a lady in our class who their family had experienced a loss recently, and she just talked about how like it was almost like a wake up call for her, like the urgency of telling more people about Jesus and everyone that you're around about Jesus, because you never know. You never know when your time is up. Like we are all guaranteed that we are all going to die, and you never know when someone that you love is gonna like end their life here and continue their life in heaven or in hell if they chose not to seek Jesus, Kayla, like you just said. So I think that is what you just said too, Amy, right? Like it's just more real. It feels more urgent to tell as many people. And I think it's a lot to say you went through a lot. Like, and not even just you, your family has been through a lot. And so, what a testimony it is to have you sit here and say, it was all worth it. If one person finds Jesus because of this story, it was all worth it. And it wasn't fun, and we didn't like it. And we wouldn't, like, wish it on someone. But if he can use this horrible situation for his honor and glory, then, like, by all means. So I think that was a perfect answer.
and I just pray that. Okay, so it's all miracles. You held me steady, so I wouldn't give up. You opened doors that nobody could shut. I hope I never get over what you've done. I want to live with an open heart. I want to live like I know who you are. I hope I never get over what you've done. And I can honestly say that you asking us to do this and us just revisiting. And not too long ago, it was the anniversary, I guess you could call it, of of COVID, the COVID situation in our family, what we went through. And this song has just been on my heart because I think that as time goes by, I've kind of let it go to the back burner, and it never needs to be there. I need to always remember that and always be ready to share and live my life in a way that gives honor and glory to Him and to be different. And both of these songs have been on my heart again lately. Lord, please, we don't have to do a COVID situation again, but no, I just need to be reminded, that what done and to live my life that way and not in fear because there was several years that I lived in fear after COVID to even leave my house.
Yeah.
And I've gotten better now and I've gone so many places and done so much, and without the Lord, I wouldn't have been able to. And without my trust in Him, I wouldn't have been able to. And it's simple things like flying on a plane or
Going to church.
going to church. I mean, that was hard for me. You can see where I sat with my alcohol wipes and rubbed the pew because I was afraid someone else had touched it.
Right.
The varnish is gone.
So you heard it here in Bill Her.
Yeah, Justin just sent it to me. Sorry, Justin, but there were things like that, and there's moments that I've taken a step back, and I have recently. And Kayla was kind of making fun of me yesterday because I made a huge purchase on Amazon of hand sanitizer.
I didn't make fun. I just said I saw that word.
There was in your tone, and so that I have to remind myself that, you know, get your anxiety under control. God's got this. He's got you. Look what He's allowed you to see. Look what He let me go through that. COVID, all of that for a reason. He brought me through that for a reason. So, and seeing those posts, I didn't even have Facebook at the time. I was logged in on my phone.
On my
Kayla's Facebook,
like things and friend request people. I'm like, oh.
But I laying in the hospital bed afterwards, I would talk on the phone with Kayla and Taylor. I would FaceTime with them, with everybody in the family, but with Kayla and Taylor a lot, and they would play music for me because that's what speaks to me. And so they would just play music for me, or like John Mike saying Psalms. Do you remember what Psalms that? What was that? Psalms
23?
No. Psalms 13.
Yeah.
He sang that and posted on Facebook, wrote the music for it, sang it, and then so they played it for me, and it was amazing. And so I would call them apparently at all hours of the night because I still had no clue, and just, hey, can you play this song for me, or anything like that. But I also got to look on Kayla's Facebook page and see how far it reached, and see people that I've never heard or seen praising God or speak of God. They were putting it right on Facebook, and it's out there forever now that they were praising God for things that He was doing. And that was amazing. It was actually very overwhelming to see how far it reached. Yeah. And that's why it was so worth it.
I mean, it reached so much farther than we even know or could even try to.
We'll ever know.
Yeah.
Try to like keep
with. And it just,
it's still crazy how God was God did move so big on such a public platform because we didn't know what was going to happen. And in the desperate prayers, we were also praising, like, her ventilator turned down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it would be
turned up. So, like, let's keep praying. Like,
she was on a ventilator for like a week. That's a long time to be on a ventilator. And then she came off, and that was exciting and fun. And it was an amazing post to put on Facebook, but the doctors were still like, well, we don't know what's going to happen though.
Yeah.
And then
I was in the hospital for a while, and the doctors were still like, well, we don't know what's going to happen though.
And actually tell her about the doctor.
So my pulmonologist partner, who had seen me off and on the whole time I was in the hospital, came in, and I was still in the MICU at this time.
Off the ventilator.
I don't know how long I'd been off it. He came in, and he's just standing there, and he's just looking at me, and he's not speaking. And I'm like, what is wrong? I'm like, is there something wrong with me? Like, what is going on? And I finally said, thank you so much for all you've done. And he said, no. And I was like, well, yeah, thank you. And he said, it wasn't me. He said, this is so much bigger than me. He said, this was not me. And he said, this was a greater power. And it was just amazing to hear a doctor say that. And the look on his face was probably one of the first times reality started to set in, because he was in awe of what God had done.
Yeah.
And for a doctor to be that way, it was pretty amazing. And then all of my nurses and everyone, they ended up being the same way. And I still had not processed exactly what had happened and the reality of how bad it was. I still didn't know. So that was hearing all of them and then thinking back once it all started to process and I started to realize what everyone else knew had been going on,
Right.
and they had time to process. Thinking back to all of those things that the doctor said, the nurses said, that was comforting and that helped me. And to be honest with you, even though I did not have my family there with me, I had a family there. Those nurses, those doctors, they became my family. They took time and they sat in the room with me because they knew that, I couldn't have anyone there. They would sit in the room with me for an hour and just talk and watch TV with me and wash my hair, simple things that I physically couldn't do at the time. And that was just very comforting that the Lord placed those people in his timing's perfect.
Yeah.
And the people were placed there, and some of them were on a contract. They were just here for a temporary time, but the Lord placed those individuals there for a reason, and that was amazing to me. I wish there was a way I could find every one of them and thank them.
So she is getting out of hospital. At this point, she's still testing positive for COVID. But they're like, she can't stay here. She's not sick enough to stay here. But we also don't know. At this point, at Baptist, she was the sickest person with COVID to survive. And so the doctors didn't know what was going to happen. They said she could go home and get better, or she could go home and get worse and end up back here. We don't know what's going to happen. And so she got home on a Wednesday. She had to quarantine in her bedroom. They would not allow me to go to, I was supposed to go to inpatient rehabilitation because I couldn't walk on my own or anything. But they would not take me because I was still testing positive. So that's why we went home. Which was such an answered prayer that we didn't even know needed answering or were praying for. We were praying for them to find her a skilled nursing facility. We were praying for her to get, and it was the no that we needed. And it obviously feel like at the time it was very frustrating because she had not moved in probably 3 weeks. So the muscle atrophy was crazy. She was a frail of a human when she got home. But she got home. And so Taylor and I got married outside her bedroom window. She got home April 14th, I think, and then we got married 2 days later. Brother Jeremy, actually, we all met in Mom and Nate's backyard outside her bedroom window. And Taylor and I got married. It was perfect. It was. And it was really when I realized, like, weddings are... It changed my view on weddings about they're not for fun. They're for people to take this vow with you.
Yeah,
and
witness it.
Yeah. But we won't get on that tangent today. And so then Mom started in-home rehab. I guess it was a few weeks later. She had a test negative. It took several weeks because I was still testing positive. Yeah. And it was weird to say, a great experience. I got to be with Mom in that and would stay home with her, work from her house, and would help her with therapy. And she had a great physical therapist that we got to share with her physical therapist what God had done. and just to spend time together, time that we had prayed for.
Yeah.
Answered it. And
we take it for granted, you know. And we do now too. Life. We allow life to get in the way.
busy. But you're not on prayer, but like your time with your family and
Your people is so special. And it's so easy to get impatient with your kids and get annoyed with them, or think your house needs to be cleaned, or think you need to let these checklists get in the way of, are you loving on your kids? Are you loving like Jesus to your family, to your friends, to your community? Are you letting
God have the chance to interrupt
your day? And that is a part of prayer. Yes. Not only does he want you can't have an intimate prayer life if when he tells you to do something, you don't take action and move.
because where's the faith?
Right. So part of prayer is action when you're called to it. And that's sometimes scary, sometimes comes along with praying a dangerous prayer. But it is worth it. It's amazing. I've got a prayer board
At our house. It's a family prayer board.
and I have I have a picture of our family in the middle. I have prayers that don't move that I've written, Taylor's written over our family. I've got Bible verses like surrounding our family, and then I've got the podcast is on there. And like friends and family are on there, and just when I hear things, I put it on there, and it's amazing. I don't update it every day, probably like I should. But when I do get to update it, oh my gosh, I get to like just take all these things and just actively see how
God is moving and answering. And sometimes I'll give a little sticky note to the people, like, you know, we prayed about this and God answered this prayer. Or just even to remind people
you are being prayed over.
So I don't know. I would
really recommend everyone to get a prayer board in their house. Keep it at the forefront of your mind. One thing I wanted to add, and I don't know why I feel led to add this, but I remember Brother Johnny calling me when they finally let me have my phone. Brother Johnny calling, and he could not even speak. And you've been there Sunday mornings when he's been filled with the Spirit and he just can't even speak. And we didn't talk much, but we just praised God. That was just what that was. Even though we weren't speaking, that's what was happening. And I remember asking him, and this is just all I wanted to do when I got out of the hospital. I just wanted to go to the church, and I just wanted to kneel at the altar at our home church. Not that there's anything, we've said, we always hear there's nothing special about that place, but there is. But it is, and our family's done war and battle in that place. And yes, and so I just wanted to go, and he was like, absolutely, you can go anytime. Because I asked him when we were on the phone, like, can we just go when I do get out? I just want to go to the church? And he was like, anytime. I said, okay. So when I got out, the day I got out, I didn't feel like going. So it was, I think it was actually a few weeks. It was a few weeks. Yeah. And I was able to use the walker at this point. Yeah. So I went, and the family went. I asked all of them to go, and we just spent time at the altar with our Lord and Savior. We prayed. We rejoiced. And it was just so amazing just being there at our home church. Just at this time, I had started to
as much as I could, process what I'd been through, what our family had been through. And just to be able to spend time with him at that altar in the sanctuary was amazing.
It was kind of a full circle, this huge prayer journey and a miracle and healing. We got to all kneel and pray together as a family.
And thank him.
Yeah. In a holy place. They are just special. It's like the song Chelsea sings, The Building.
Yes.
It is just a building, but
we've done spiritual warfare in that place.
And so it is special
to be able to go there together.
And praise God for still such an overwhelming miracle. And it wasn't, I
do not want.
We got the miracle, and life is still very difficult after the miracle.
Yeah.
We didn't
this miracle, and then Mom bounced back,
and it was great and wonderful. Mom was in therapy, physical therapy, for months, trying to regain all the muscle loss that she
lost. That's redundant, but
and the anxiety that she felt, she started getting panic attacks for the first time, and I don't want it to seem like we had the miracle, God answered the prayer, and
it's all
a lot of times in the Bible we hear the miracle and people walk off, and we don't get to follow them anymore and see, like, what does the rest of your life look like. We got the miracle, and it was amazing, and it was humbling, and it is such a stronghold for our family,
but we're still in the waves, right? We're still
it was still a storm after that
people didn't see, and still is. I mean, Mom
still has seasons where it's just ripping.
But
I want to say,
Psalms 139:5, it's talking about God. He hems us in front
and behind, and it's kind of a weird thing to say. I know you know what this means because your mom. But I mean, when you hem something in, you completely cover it.
It's completely surrounded.
And he's already preparing our
hearts for whatever happens. So, like, when we have, last year, Greg had a stroke, and it was very unexpected. We were getting up for Sunday. We were going to go to church, and we were going to go eat lunch with the whole family for my birthday. And we had a plan, and our family had a will, and that was not what was going to happen. And sitting in the ER with Gray after a stroke, he had like a gray look, like when people get before they die, just was not looking good. And because the medicines he is on, they couldn't do anything. All we had to do was sit and wait. And that, you go before us and you come up. It became my prayer. That God's going to prepare our family for whatever happens, whether he survives or whether he
didn't make it, which he did.
God was going to prepare us. If we had lost Mom, God was preparing our hearts for that. He would have prepared, and he would have carried us after that. And so, even though he did answer the prayer, it kind of gave me faith for when he doesn't answer the prayer how I want. He's already preparing my heart for that no. He's already preparing me for whatever tough seasons are going to come. And he's going to, we have the story of the friends carrying the man to Jesus' feet. That is so important. Your community is so important. I mean, I don't think I don't think
Mom would have survived
had people not shown up like they did and prayed, and just, it was insane. But when Jesus died on the cross, he carries us to God's feet and lays us there. And
he does that in life.
For when you can't walk, when you can't go, when you don't have the words, when you're so broken and rocked, Jesus will carry you to God's feet. And hopefully that's a comforting thing for people because if you lean on God in the hard times, it doesn't make it hurt less necessarily. It doesn't make it less scary. But there is a undescribable, amazing grace.
Yeah.
Where God's just in the fire with you. He doesn't always just pull you out of the fire or prevent you from going in, but he will be in the fire with you. He's always that fourth man.
Mm-hmm. That is comforting too, right? Like it's probably not what we always want. Like I don't always want to go on the fire. I'd rather not, thank you. But to know that he's always there with us, I think is so comforting. And the thing I keep thinking of as I listen to you guys tell the story, and I have heard this story before, but is like what a testimony it is. I think about all the people that, prayed for you both, probably, through that season 6 years ago, and how they got to see a real life miracle, and the ripple effects of that. But then this happened 6 years ago, and you're sitting on a podcast today talking about it for more people to hear about how God showed up and answered your prayers. And your testimony is it's not perfect now. Like it's still an everyday struggle. And Amy, I love that you even said earlier, you said I've been failing him lately, and I've never like related to something so strongly, because that's all of us every day. We're human, and we can't we're not going to be perfect at this, but I think that's part of your testimony too, is like he is faithful, and he stays with us no matter what we go through. And we just have to keep going back to him. So I'm so grateful that you guys shared this. I know it was hard to revisit some of that, and I don't even know that like this far out, there's probably still things that you'll discover about that time or process about that time, probably for forever, for the rest of your life, because it was such a big traumatic experience. But I'm just grateful that you guys were willing to share it here. And is there anything, I've made a whole list of things that I'm going to either link for people or tie people back to, but is there anything that you had in your notes that you wanted to say that you haven't had a chance to say?
Be patient with yourself. When you go through things, you have to take time to heal, mentally, physically, emotionally. You have to forgive yourself. Whatever, there's some instances where you need to forgive yourself. Just live your life forgiving, more loving. And this is a word that I've heard over and over lately, and it's been in one of the Bible plans we're doing, is be intentional. Be more intentional in the things that you do. And be more thankful. Thank him for everything, the small things, the big things. He's worthy of that. This is silly, but when I find matching socks, I'm thankful. And I try to remember to stop and thank him for finding matching socks.
Yeah.
But I want to remind myself to be thankful in those silly things so that I'll be thankful in the big things and not get caught up in.
Yeah.
It's like practicing intentionality.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's so important. That is great encouragement. All
I
right.
guess I would just say
Any-
being more
Yeah.
vulnerable with God and let the redeemed of the Lord say so. You know, we all have struggles and they're not for nothing. So share them. You know, that's what the Bible's full of.
Yeah. So good. Thank you again. I can't say thank you enough. I'm excited for everybody to get to hear this. And what I have in my notes are lots of other things that we could come back and talk about another time. So we might have to have you guys come back again and have some other conversation about some of these other rabbit trails that we could easily go down. So thank you guys. I love you both. I'm so grateful for you and just appreciate you being here.
Thankful
Thank
for you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to the table. We hope today's conversation encouraged you as you seek Jesus in the big moments and the little ones. Check out the show notes for any scripture, resources, whatever we talked about today. Feel free to share this episode, leave a comment, ask a question, or share your thoughts with us. Come back and join us again next week. We'll be right here. If you haven't already, go follow or subscribe wherever you listen and find us on socials to catch up if you don't have time to listen throughout the week, or just to find out what all the next episodes are about. Also, we know you have things to say, examples to share, wisdom to give, so look for opportunities this week to share with those around you or even with us. All right, we'll see you next time.